Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, we are here to talk about a linebacker from the 2023 recruiting class out of Pickerington Central High School. Is it Sonny Styles? No, I'm so glad you asked. Is it a different linebacker? Is he on Ohio State? No, not yet. Could he be? Well, that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes, Tom, of course, we were talking about Rasheem Biles, Pittsburgh linebacker, redshirt sophomore this past year, an outstanding season, is now in the portal. Number one linebacker in the portal, number one price tag in the portal, and is looking around. And, sometimes he'll get tied to a visit, and then that visit will get canceled. There were visits scheduled for Ohio State. There was visits scheduled, I think, for maybe Miami, and these things didn't happen. And so now you just wait for everything to settle down a little bit and the clouds to part, and then maybe see what his intentions are. Because when you talk about Rasheem Biles this past year, you're talking about somebody who had two interceptions, two pick sixes, totaling 85 yards, had a fumble return for a touchdown, 101 tackles on the season, 17 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, four passes broken up, four quarterback hurries, two forced fumbles. I saw, and I don't know if I'll be able to find the stat, but it's something like first time in 25 years or whatever that a player had 15 tackles, four tackles for loss, and a touchdown in the same game. He is wherever you need him to be. He's a guy that can get there, and not the biggest guy, 6'1", 220. So I know people are like, well, he could just replace Arvell Reese, and it's like, well, like there are different sizes of players. He plays more of a position like Sonny does, the inside linebacker, and so like if that's somebody Ohio State could get, they'd figure out the best way to use him. But he is a playmaker. He has played on the edge at Pittsburgh. He has done this. He's played in coverage. They send him, they blitz him, they attack with him, and he's been effective. And everybody has their eyes on him right now.
Yeah, Tony, we're going to play, before we move on, we're going to play a quick game. You mentioned two pick sixes and a scoop and score for him this year. Receivers. Who among these receivers who had more touchdowns than Biles, who had as many, and who had fewer touchdowns? Just receiving. We're just gonna look at that. Let's start with Max Clare, Tony. More touchdowns or fewer touchdowns, or the
I
same
think
number
Mac
of touchdowns?
I think Max Clare had two touchdowns this year.
Two touchdowns is correct. Fewer touchdowns. How about Brandon Inniss, Tony, receiving?
I think Brandon Ennis also had two touchdowns.
Incorrect. Three touchdowns for Brandon Inniss.
Okay, all right.
How about Will Kazmarek, Tony? Last one. Will Kazmarek.
Ooh.
How many touchdowns receiving for Will Kazmarek? And is it more or less than this linebacker that we're talking about?
I'm gonna say just less.
Yes, two touchdowns. Running the ball. James Peoples, running back, started the year for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
10 carries in the Texas game. More touchdowns rushing or more touchdowns for Biles, or the same?
I know he had at least two touchdowns. One was a long one. One was the hurdle one. Did he have one in between there? I'm going to say no. Those are the only two.
Three touchdowns for James Peoples. Once again, you've disappointed us, Tony. That's okay. That's okay. So anyway, the point is, yeah, boy, he sure does have a nose for the end zone, doesn't he, folks? This is such an interesting prospect because he's a Pickerington guy, so he could come home. Obviously, would be someone that Ohio State would welcome with open arms for if everything makes sense for every party involved in this whole thing. Ohio State would welcome him in with open arms. But also, you look at the linebacker room, and this is not an area where, if you were going to rank the order of need in terms of like, boy, do they really need a guy here, they really need a guy there. Linebacker is probably lower on the list. You'd probably put corner, or at least nickel slash corner on the list. You'd probably put safety on the list ahead of linebacker. You'd certainly have edge on the list ahead of linebacker, and we know they've already gotten one defensive tackle in the portal. So linebacker might be the lowest in terms of absolute true need on defense, but also he's such a unique prospect, and he's from right in their backyard that it's like, boy, You know, this is not a you have to have this guy, but I don't know that there's anyone else that they would take it, that they're looking at
Mm.
linebacker. Like, it's like, it's him or nothing, which you can you can say that and mean, like, if you don't get him, you're doomed. It's like, no, if they don't get him, they're fine at linebacker. But man, you look at his numbers, you look at his production, and it's like, man, oh man, you put him on this Ohio State team, and you could really be cooking with gas.
Yeah, I'll say another name out there, Tom. Wisconsin's Christian Allegro,
Oh
who's
yeah. Oh, I love him. He's the one you guys may remember him. He's the guy who broke his arm in the middle of the Ohio State Wisconsin game, and then just said, like, yeah, just wrap it up. Put me back out there. It's fine. Like, he's another guy who, yeah, the production is not quite what Biles is, but yeah, he's one of those guys where you just look and you're like, yeah, you want like a dude like that on your team. So yeah, okay. So I'll add him to my list and say,
yeah.
sure, yeah, put him there as well.
And by the way, Biles had an interception as a redshirt freshman, also a pick six. So his three interceptions have all gone to the house. Boy, that's just, you better take the next one to the house is all I'm saying, kid. Like, you can't.
Can he solve their question at Z receiver? Listen, people, I don't hear you saying no.
But you mentioned the Ohio State linebackers, Peyton Pierce, Riley Pettyjohn. We're going to assume Arvell Reese is off to the NFL. We know Sonny Styles is. It's a young group, and Peyton Pierce has that the next man up. He's followed it. He was the Cody Simon to Arvell Reese to Peyton Pierce. He is a known quantity. Behind him, Riley Pettyjohn, 9 tackles this year. TJ Alford, 6 tackles this year. Garrett Stover, 5 tackles this year. Eli Lee, 2. Like, those are the next guys up, and there's not a lot of experience there. We saw Riley Pettyjohn have some moments, and I think everybody's excited to see what he can do on a full-time basis. I don't know where coaches measure excitement versus knowledge of a proven commodity, where it's like, yeah, sure, we'd like to figure out and find out what Riley Pettyjohn can do. It would be exciting to see. Do they value the that, or it's like the whole Urban Meyer potential just means you haven't done it yet, as opposed to the testimony versus theory type of thing. Like I said, I think they've recruited well enough, and you could throw in Sincere Johnson in there as well, incoming freshman. I think they've recruited well enough to go with what they've got, but there are not a lot of bodies there when you look at the total number overall, and so you've got to make sure that those guys have all hit, and Biles clearly has hit, been a productive 2-year player, but again, the price tag is something that we're going to talk about it. It's like it is a factor, and Ohio State fans don't want to hear, stop talking about prices. Ohio State can do this and they can do that. It's like, well, clearly the prices matter. Now, you're gonna open up some areas because the linebacker room is losing Sonny Styles, probably losing Arvell Reese. So the allocation to the linebacker room will open up, and there could be more there, but the way that the rumors and the stories coming out about the money that Biles people they're asking for is quarterback money, and that's unrealistic for the vast majority of college football programs, and that's why I said to you that before the show. I wonder if they're just throwing out a number until Texas A&M, Texas Tech comes in, or Texas A&M comes in and says, "We will do it," and then you're like, "Hooray! We found our landing spot."
Well, yeah, the business model is get people on the phone until you hear someone shooting guns up in the air, and then that's your indication that, oh, yeehaw! All right, we found our guy. All right, yeah, it's if you here's a good barometer for Ohio State fans, because I know I feel like I have to explain this to people the way I explain to my kids, like, why can't we get a pony? Like, well, okay, so you have to, you know, why can't you spend whatever you should spend wherever you want to, whatever they need to spend, they should spend on this guy. Okay, well, that's fine. Do you want Jeremiah Smith to be on the team? Okay. Well, do you want Julian Sane to be on the team? Okay. So do you want your offensive line to be on the team? Do you want Kenyatta Jackson to come back? Do you want, yes, there's a lot of, it turns out there are a lot of talented players who are in high demand on the Ohio State football roster, and everything is a balancing act because you do not have fundamentally unlimited resources. Ohio State has a lot of resources. Every program is losing players to the transfer portal. That's just that's the way it is. No one is keeping 100% of their players. No one is getting 100% of the players that they want, because guess what? All the other programs can also spend money in the way that Ohio State can, to at least some degree. And you're seeing the transfer portal sort of distribute talent in a way that it hasn't before, which is why you have programs that have not really been a factor in the past. It's not all the biggest spending programs that have that are still playing football this year. So you're seeing the talent sort of get distributed across other teams, and in a way that it hasn't in the past. So, you know, to get back on track here in terms of this particular one, yes, Ohio State would love to get Rasheem Biles. Rasheem Biles would absolutely be additive to this Ohio State roster. Rasheem Biles would absolutely make the linebacker room significantly better. But you have to. Everything in life is a trade-off, and if you are seeing a bunch of other teams sort of have the same reaction, then that tells you that it's probably not a uniquely Ohio State thing. It's probably the market is what the market is, and you're gonna the supply and the demand lines are going to cross at some point, but they have not crossed yet. And when you find that point, we can economics 101 this one. When they find that point, you will see a graphic from Hayes Fawcett, but not until then.
The other thing to keep in mind, if you're bringing in a $3 million player at a position, you're basically consider him a $6 million player, because you're going to have to allocate another $3 million around the room to the other players, because now they're all going to want money. They're going to want raises. You're going to have to raise them up as well. So it's not always just as easy as it just being, it's just one $3 million guy. It's, this $3 million is actually $6 million, because now Peyton Pierce wants more. Riley Pettyjohn, if you want to keep him, you're going to have to give him more. And I'm just using the Ohio State guys that we know as an example. This is going to be any team. You bring in somebody like this, generally it can raise the rest of the room as well. So you've got to think about it as that. It's not as simple as one number. You might often have to double it, and then it becomes, could we use that $6 million somewhere else? And generally the answer is probably, yes, we probably could. And so that's just the fun economic aspect of college football that we always loved talking about. And it's been, since I was a child, loved talking about the maneuverability and the malleability of the money of college football. But that will do it from here. We will see. We'll find out more on Biles in the coming days. Again, it is still very early. Guys just have to get into the portal. They don't need to find their way home just yet. I'm going to be fascinated to see how many late signees there are, so that schools aren't losing guys to the positions that they sign guys to, where it's like, we can't announce anything until the portal is closed. That way we don't upset somebody at the position we just signed. Like, that way, if Ohio State, I'm not saying Ohio State is going to do this. Some schools are going to do this where you announce the signing afterwards, after the portal is closed. That way, now Riley Pettyjohn is mad, and now, I wish there was a place you could go, but the portal is closed. Sorry. I think you're going to see a lot of schools doing that, but I don't know how many players have the patience and the agents have the patience to wait that long as well.
Yeah, it's certainly that's an interesting piece of this, and then also the NFL draft declarations. I wonder if those are getting put off, even if guys know, if those are getting put off a little bit, because then that changes the leverage a little bit in terms of, if you know that this guy's going, then that changes the leverage a little bit in that conversation. So yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. Everything's happening at the same time, and then there's these really hard deadlines at the end where, if you're not in the portal or you're not in the NFL draft by this certain time on this certain day, you can't be in the portal. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a land rush of signings or commitments immediately following those deadlines.
Yeah, so if you're an Ohio State fan and you're wondering where all the signings, where the commitments are, there's just a lot of stuff in play right now. So I would say be patient. I'm not going to bother. I know. I'm part of the internet as well. I'm not going to bother. But being part of the internet, if you could, if you're watching YouTube, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Hit the bell to be notified, all those good things, as you know. And you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com talking about all of these things. So that will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.